flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
I really like this team. This is the team that I have winning the NFC North. Large part because of Kirk Cousins and his consistent play at the quarterback position, because he does have the support, not only in the coaching staff, but around him. A healthy Dalvin Cook behind him in the running game and in the passing game. And then you obviously have the guys on the outside at the skill positions, Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who is an emerging top three, if not already, wide receiver in this league, and Irv Smith, if they can get some more production out of him. But this offense is going to be a juggernaut.
Hey, welcome in Reckless Speculation Thursday. That was Greg Jennings, the former Packer, and I guess more importantly for this discussion, a former Viking receiver. Mackey out for this segment of the show. Zolgad, executive producer Declan Goff, and the reckless speculator extraordinaire, our scoops guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson. Yes, you are. You are. Look right at yourself, because you are the man who is, I believe, largely in charge of the reckless speculation that has a shot of becoming true, where the rest of us are just sort of recklessly speculating things that we enjoy talking about. Anyway, week one is here, boys. Week one of the season starts. Actually, we're recording this on Thursday, so it starts tonight with the Rams and Bills. But Darren, let's get to the Vikings and let's do some hardcore reckless speculation here on what feels like a lot of different opinions about this team. After watching them in training camp now, we obviously didn't see the majority of the starters in the exhibition games. But give me your feeling from seeing what you did in camp about this team now as they start week one against the Packers on Sunday.
Well, good morning, Judd. Good morning, Declan. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday. Judd, I am optimistic. Now, not overly optimistic about them making a deep run in January, but optimistic about them going over the Vegas over-under total, which last time I checked, Declan, you might know better than I, but I believe is 8.5.
Now it's mostly it's 9.5.
Is it 9.5?
All
right, well, I would have gotten in earlier.
9.5.
Yeah, okay. Somebody had mentioned that, and that's why I brought that up. Okay, well, I certainly would have gotten in weeks ago at 8.5, months ago, in fact. 9.5, I still lean over. I don't feel real confident about that. Judd, I think it's a favorable schedule. The extra home game, getting New Orleans in London compared to the Superdome. What I saw at training camp, what I saw at practice last week, what I saw at practice earlier this week is a team that is excited to get going. It's kumbaya. We've brought that up many times. There is collaboration, our favorite popular buzzword. They thoroughly and genuinely enjoy each other. Now, I don't necessarily know how to quantify that in terms of, okay, they like each other, great. You know, that means 11 or 12 wins, or, you know, this group of guys doesn't like each other, but hey, they're uber talented. They can still win double-digit games, right? Like, I'm sure there are teams going back any number of years where there wasn't that sort of, you know, camaraderie in the locker room, yet they still found a way to win a lot of games. But I just sense that this group really, really enjoys each other. I don't think Kevin O'Connell was lying to us on Monday, Judd, when he said 20 guys received captain's votes. Like, trust me, we get lied to a lot. He'll lie to us eventually. I don't think on that one he lied to us. So that tells us that the players themselves feel like there's a good amount of leadership potential in that locker room. I know in the past we've heard some things about Cousins, his relationship with his receivers, with his tight ends. I've not heard that sort of buzz now going back many, many months. In fact, even going back maybe over a year. So I think they like each other. I think it's a really difficult 2-game start to the schedule. Like, I can debate, Judd, if you want, that this 2-game stretch, Green Bay home at Philadelphia, as tough a 2-game stretch as they have throughout the entire 17 games. So it's possible they start 0-2. I'm still not going to push the panic button at that point, depending on how those 2 games transpire. But I don't think they go 0-2. I think they find a way to win at least one of these first 2 games. And I think there's a better chance they go 2-0 than 0-2. How about that for a little, I don't know if you want to call it reckless speculation, optimism. But, hey, Judd, I still would not have been against if Ryan Poles got this job, the current Bears general manager. Remember, they wanted to bring him in for an interview. He didn't come in. There's a sense he wanted to blow this thing up pretty good. I would have had no problem if they decided, after missing the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years, the last 2 years, Justin Jefferson has never been on a team over 500. Yes, if the Vikings win on Sunday, get to 1-0, that'll be the first time that Justin Jefferson is on an NFL team that is over 500. So I would have understood if they ended up going the Poles route and wanted to blow this thing up. Now, I never got the sense the Wilfs were willing to do that, but I'm just saying, if that's the route they had chosen, I would have understood it. But now that they've chosen this route, hey, let's see what they can do. But I'm taking the over. I am. Slightly going over. I think 10 wins. Like, I'm not going 11 or 12, but Judd,
playoff team?
I think
playoff
10
team?
and 7. Well, I think 10 gets you in, sure. Yeah, if you get to 10 now, depending on tiebreakers, what have you. But, yeah, I think they are a playoff team. I don't think they're a division winner. I still think Green Bay, rightfully so, is the, heavy favorite. As long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, like, when does he not win the division, right? So Green Bay has to be the favorite. And they are by, betting metrics, just eyeball test, whatever you want to look at them as. But, yeah, I think the Vikings are one of those wild card teams. So, yeah, I think they're in the postseason.
So, Dukes, what's your expectation for Kirk? Because I think that's the most intriguing one to me personally. Because you know what? I mean, the guy has no question about it, produced statistically before, and he's done it quite a bit. Record-wise, we've talked about the fact a lot that he has essentially been, throughout the course of his career, a 500 quarterback. So, what I am so curious to see, and it'll start to unfold obviously on Sunday, is this. What can O'Connell do here? Like, what can O'Connell do for Kirk with the offense as a guy who's going to support him, which sounds stupid, but clearly there was some problems there previously with Zimmer. So what do you think? Like, is there a next step as far as becoming a true winning quarterback that Kirk has? Or is Kirk at, I believe, the age of 34, if I'm not mistaken, is Kirk, and, it might change at times, but it's not going to change a ton. That, I think, if I had to give you like 3 storylines that I'm just so curious about for 2022 and this Vikings team, that to me is the top one, because to be fair, I don't know. Like, I just don't know there.
Well, I don't know either. I agree with you. That, to me, some combination of Kirk, the offense, Kevin O'Connell, play caller, what this offense will look like. Yeah, I mean, all those things, that's my number one storyline as well. I don't have a good sense. I don't. I'd love to tell you I do. I just don't. Now, I lean more the latter, not the former, right at 34, as you mentioned, Judd. Like, I just don't think all of a sudden he's going to change who he is. I still have those concerns. We brought this up a couple weeks ago. Let's say the Packers are up 4 minutes to go on Sunday. Will Cousins, throw that 50-50 ball? Is he willing to pull the trigger, push the ball downfield, give Jefferson or Thielen a chance, knowing that, okay, maybe Stokes, maybe Alexander will also have a decent chance to go get that ball, and we could ultimately lose. But is he willing to take a risk or two? More so than we've seen throughout his 5 years in purple. Or I guess this would be year 5, so his 4 years in purple, now entering year 5. Even going back to the joint practices with the Niners, right? Not that there was a whole lot to glean there, but is he willing to pull the trigger when in the past he checks down? I still want to see that come to fruition because I think it needs to. I'm not ready to suggest, like Michael Irvin, like some other national talking heads, that Kirk Cousins is my MVP choice. I still think his ceiling is relatively high. Like, I still think, Judd, he's an upper half quarterback. There are 15 teams that maybe they wouldn't love to have Kirk, but Kirk would be an upgrade over their current quarterback situation. More than that, right? So there's enough there to like. But what is the ultimate ceiling? as Phil has documented many times, he wants them to win the Super Bowl, right? That's the goal. So if you need to go backwards a bunch, because in 2 years you have a better chance to reach that ultimate goal,
right.
Phil, others would have been comfortable doing so. I don't see the ceiling being them hoisting the Lombardi trophy in early February. So while I'm an optimist, I'm not an over-the-top optimist. I don't see that happening. But I still think he's pretty darn good. I think we'll see, comparable statistics to what we've seen in years past, with a high amount of touchdown passes, with a low amount of interceptions, because I'm not convinced until I see it that he'll be willing to take those risks.
Dukes, yesterday, Za'Darius Smith, the news kind of came around, I believe, from Tyler Dunn, a friend of the show from the Go Long podcast, and his newsletter does a great job. Did a great sit-down with Za'Darius Smith, and Za'Darius kind of went in on how his ending with the Packers kind of got pretty ugly towards the end. He felt really disrespected, and a big reason why he signed with Minnesota was because he wanted revenge. I think he was even talking to reporters. I don't know if you were in that scrum earlier this week, basically, kind of downplaying the whole thing and saying, oh, no, it's kumbaya, I'm happy to be here. And then all of a sudden the Tyler Dunn story breaks, and it turns out that he's pretty upset with the way things ended in Green Bay. Did that catch you as a surprise that Za'Darius Smith was so vocal about how things ended in Green Bay?
I wasn't overly surprised. I was not in that scrum. So while a bunch of reporters zigged towards Za'Darius, I zagged. Spoke with Jalen Reagor one-on-one. So instead of being in a scrum with 12 other reporters, I went the other way, got Jalen Reagor for a one-on-one. Now, we did have a camera. We had 2 cameras in the locker room on Monday. So my colleague Alec was in that scrum with Za'Darius. So I went back. I listened to what he said. I heard what Aaron Rodgers said yesterday, just deferring to Matt LaFleur's comments. I heard what Matt LaFleur said, saying, I respect Za'Darius, heck of a player. But his perception of how things transpired here, my perception, a little bit different. I still am digging on the untold story of what exactly took place, Za'Darius and the Ravens. So there was this verbal agreement.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I still don't know. I know I'm supposed to have the answers, or at least to recklessly speculate here on a Thursday. I don't even know how to recklessly speculate. I'm wondering aloud, what the heck took place? What happened there that he didn't end up ultimately signing with the Ravens when there was a verbal agreement in play? So after that, options were pretty limited. So he can suggest all he wants that, hey, he signed here because he wants to play Green Bay twice. But I'm not quite sure there were like these multiple options, unless I'm sorely mistaken on that. But going back to March, I don't remember hearing this thirsty market for Za'Darius coming off a serious back injury, not young in age, not that he's old. And hey, Za'Darius could have one heck of a year. I thought he had a pretty good training camp. When I saw him, he looked pretty darn good to me. That is one of the big keys to the season. Can he play double-digit games? Can Danielle Hunter play double-digit games? But Judd, I'm still wondering, maybe you have more insight than I do. I don't know exactly what took place, why he didn't sign with Baltimore. But no, Declan, to answer your inquiry, no, I'm not overly surprised based on him missing all those games, what exactly took place with the medical staff, him coming back for that short time. Like, I'm not shocked at what Za'Darius suggested to that podcaster.
And Dukes, plus, too, the thing is, and Smith, I think, knows this, it's an unfortunate byproduct of the league itself, but when you are hurt, especially like long-term, your team doesn't have use for you unless it's a really different football culture, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing is we've seen this here before. Guys have talked about it. You get hurt, you are a chip or a piece of the puzzle to win games. And if you are taken out of that puzzle, guess what? You basically, among a lot of probably very important people in your building, have no use there. So, like, it's unfortunate. It's not a great way to treat people, but that's football. I mean, that's the unfortunate thing is you can go from being the most important guy in the building, oh my God, Za'Darius, you're fantastic, you're awesome, to, oh, you got a bad back, dude, see ya, bye. And that's football.
That is, absolutely.
I mean,
that's why it's a year-to-year proposition. The thought of long-term deals outside of marquee quarterbacks don't mean a whole lot. Just because a guy is here now doesn't mean he'll be here in a year. Heck, we were wondering, maybe not necessarily exactly this time last year, but at the end of last season, hey, what's the future hold for Adam Thielen, right? I mean, we ask those questions because they're fair questions to ask, because those questions are being asked internally. They have those discussions all the time, especially with guys up there in age, right? That's why, to me, Harrison Smith's agent deserves, whatever the commission he's making on that deal, Harrison needs to double it, because I'm still shocked. And heck, I can make a case that Harrison Smith one day belongs in Canton. That's how good he's been. But you just don't pay a safety at 9 or 10 years experience in the league that sort of money. Like, that Harrison Smith latest contract is a complete outlier, right? Like, you could have made a case at that time, you need to cut the cord, right? And they did it with Kyle Rudolph and go up and down the list. And they were right on Kyle, right? It's not like they were wrong on Kyle, although I hope he has a bounce back year with Tom there in Tampa. But we can cite any number of examples. But yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. And yeah, coming off a serious back injury, the surgery, like, that's not one to F with, Judd. Like, there's some injuries where you're like, oh, okay, maybe. Like, very selfishly, I just saw that George Kittle popped up on the injury report. I'm in a high-stakes fantasy league, right? And I've got George Kittle. And I need Kittle to have a
Jock
big year. Yeah, and it's a groin injury, right? And I'm like, oh, crap. Like, that's one that just lingers, right? Like, when I saw that news, George Kittle groin. So when I hear pass rusher, Za'Darius Smith, back surgery, like, that freaks me the F out. It just does. If you're a Vikings fan, it absolutely should freak you the F out. I say it freaks me the F out because I'd like to cover a winner, right? Like, Phil has the fandom still in him. I just want to cover a winner. I'd like to cover a deep run in January one of these years. I was in New Orleans for the most recent playoff victory, right? It would have been fun to follow that team for a few more weeks. Like, I'd like to, right? You do this long enough, you'd like to cover a champion. Yes, it's been cool to cover the Lynx championship runs. I'm not denying that. But the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, they're in a different stratosphere, right? And so doing this now 25 years in this marketplace, I'd sure like to cover a winner, a champion. Not only a winner, but a champion, Judd. So that's why I say it freaks me the F out. So that's why I wonder. I mean, storyline 1, the offense, but storyline 2, it's Danielle Hunter, it's Za'Darius Smith. How many games can they play this year? Because, if they can't play double-digit games, I think we're looking at another bottom 7, bottom 8 type defense. If they can play double-digit games, I think they'll be middle of the pack.
Doogie, on the safety front, so Lewis Seen isn't going to start, but I have to imagine he obviously factors into a good amount of snaps still on the defense. When you actually really look at this rookie class, I was talking to our guy Realistic Randy and some other Ventline contributors throughout the last few weeks on this. There seems to be about 4 different rookies that could make like immediate impact on this Vikings team. Obviously, Ed Ingram is the lone starter of that group, quote unquote starter. But you have guys like Andrew Booth and Lewis Seen that could also factor in there. Brian Asamoah could get some run as well. It just seems like the Vikings rookie class, even though there might not be a lot of starters, they're going to have a ton of contributors to this year's team. And I think it says a lot, too, that they cut basically half of the 2021 class because they believe so much in this 2022 class for depth.
Absolutely. I mean, a Caleb Evans, 4th-round cornerback from Missouri. Like, I've heard behind the scenes, they really, really like him. Like, don't be shocked, not this year, but eventually that he's one of their starting cornerbacks. That's how healthy an opinion they have of a Caleb Evans right now. Certainly Andrew Booth Jr., they view him as a starter eventually. Lewis Seen, same deal. You're right. Immediately, it's Ed Ingram. I'm not convinced, Declan, this Sunday that you'll see Seen in there a bunch. You'll see him on special teams. You'll see Asamoah. Asamoah is going to be a really good special teams player. Maybe not quite Josh Metellus, but Asamoah is going to be really good on special teams. Like him and Metellus, I bet, are 1-2 in terms of tackles. And just, when you're watching special teams, you're going to notice Asamoah. I'm not convinced you're going to see a whole lot of Seen immediately, but eventually, yes. Now, I'm still wondering, after hearing and reading stuff about Kyle Hamilton in Baltimore, they could have just stayed, where they were middle of the first round, they could have secured the best safety in the draft in Kyle Hamilton. So that'll be a comparison that we continue to make, not only this year, but for the next few years. Kyle Hamilton versus Lewis Cine.
On to the Twins. What a debacle. They lost on Monday. They got rained out on Tuesday. A doubleheader in game one. In game one on Wednesday. Louis Varland, North St. Paul. Unbelievable. Like steps onto the mound at Yankee bleeping Stadium and pitches fantastic. He works quickly. He does everything that you want. He is taken out, and the Twins subsequently go on to blow a game that went extras. All right. Where do you sort of, in your opinion, Darren, pick up the pieces here? Because I will say this. I think game one of that and how much the Twins tried to go in to win that game, including Duran throwing a couple of innings, I think that game might be the poster child in some ways, ultimately, for the 2022 season. Because you talk about frustration. Carlos Correa comes up, absolutely key situation. He's been terrible in the clutch for the most part in 2022, but he had every chance to basically define that game, and it would have been huge. Varland's a great story, and that was cool. Beyond that, though, that has to be one of the most disappointing days for these Twins. And to me, it sort of encapsulates what has happened since this team gave up first place and is now fallen into the muck of the Guardians, White Sox, and Twins in a race that clearly nobody wants.
Well, yeah, nobody wants it. I mean, Cleveland up a run in the ninth inning last night at Kansas City.
What the hell?
They blow it. They had a chance to go up 3 games in the division. Now, you look at Cleveland, like what they did in the winter, what they did or didn't do at the trade deadline, all the guys that they've had make their major league debut this year. I mean, we're talking double digits. Like everything Cleveland has done has pointed to them having no interest, even going back to March, in winning this division. Yet they may stumble into a division championship. A reminder, if you win the division, you get all the, that first round, all those games, it's a best of 3. So it may be a max of 3 or just 2 if you can end it in 2. But those games are all in your home ballpark. Like, you don't need to travel. What a disaster, if you're the Blue Jays, for example. It looks like Toronto may be the 6th seed, right? Like, if you're Toronto, you'll be 8 to 10 games better than the Central winner. Yet you need to go on the road? Like, that needs to be looked at by Major League Baseball. I'm not quite sure, that's fair. Also, to be able to avoid the Houston Astros, so if you win, right, you then play likely the Yankees, right? So, like, you don't want to be the 4 or the 5 seed. Now, if you're Seattle, you haven't been in the playoffs in forever, just take the 4 seed, take the home playoff games. That would be a wonderful atmosphere in Seattle. But I'm just saying, like, being the 4 or the 5 seed, you're better off being the 6 seed, right? So Major League Baseball probably needs to look at that. Louis Varland, heck, an afterthought, right? Like, what a phenomenal debut, even though, there's more people in my house right now than there were at Yankee Stadium at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Scooby,
but hey, good for him. Yeah, Scooby's outside going nuts at the neighbor
It's okay.
dog.
We love the dogs on this show.
It's just the prime lady, Scooby. It's okay. It's okay.
I don't think it's Prime Lady. It might be. You know what?
It's Varland.
His
He's
neighbor?
upset. He's like, I love Louis Varland. Scooby bet on that game. He had a lot going, and now, damn it, he lost. He lost your house. They're coming to claim it.
But you're right. I mean, that was a poster child in many instances, right? I mean, lack of clutch hitting, some base running issues, the bullpen blowing another lead, right? A starting pitcher coming out earlier than a lot of people wanted him to come out. Although I'll admit, I was okay Varland not facing Aaron Judge a third time. I'm not sure Griffin Jax. Now, this is 2020 hindsight. It's not like I put this out on social media, verbalized this to anyone. But in the moment, I was thinking, what about Duran right here? Like, we don't need to pigeonhole Duran for the 8th or 9th inning, right? Like, this is a key spot. You can use him earlier than the 8th inning. So, and I get it, Griffin Jax has been good, but I would have been okay if they went with their best reliever in that situation, not their third or fourth best reliever. I guess depending on where you want to rank Thielbar, Lopez. Griffin's been good, but like he's not one or two. So I would have been okay using your best reliever there. Judd, they still have a chance, right? That's how bad the division is. Cleveland here for 3 this weekend. They still have a bunch of games left against Cleveland. 8. They still have, 6 left against the White Sox. If you watch the White Sox, they are a train wreck defensively. They don't run the bases well. They have a lot of warts, but Kopech is coming back. You know, you love Dylan Cease, probably the Cy Young winner with Justin Verlander hurt right now. Maybe it's Verlander, but Cease certainly has a case to be made for being the Cy Young winner in the American League. So the White Sox at least have some capable starters. The Twins, at this point, there's no, sense Tyler Mahle's coming back anytime soon. Byron Buxton doing better. I do expect him back soon. Now, is soon this weekend, or is it more like next week? Because you'd love to have him this weekend against Cleveland. But he'll be back in the relatively near future. Same goes for Jorge Polanco. So if you get those guys back, Ryan Jeffers, before the month is over, there is hope on that. I'm not optimistic on Trevor Larnach. Judd, he wasn't in the lineup Tuesday. Fort Myers got rained out last night, but he was supposed to be in the Fort Myers lineup last Thursday, and he hasn't been in the lineup, right? And the Twins people continue to tell me no setback, but at this point, when you look at the calendar, there's not enough time for Larnach to get enough at-bats in Fort Myers. Then it's not like you go Fort Myers to the majors. He would need to go to AAA. There's only a few weeks left. I'm just not optimistic that Trevor Larnach will be back this year. So you're looking at lineups with Kyle Garlick and Jake Cave and Nick Gordon continuing to play a lot, even though Nick Gordon has certainly taken a step forward this year. But it's not like you want to be playing him every day. But that's the situation that they're currently in. But the division is so bad, just get to 84, 85 wins, right? I don't think anybody's winning this division with 86 or 87 wins or 88, right? It's going to be 84, 85 max, I believe, right? So it's still sitting there. There's still a reason to pay attention, even though I get it when people suggest this is as frustrating a Twins team as they can remember watching. And I get it. Some people have completely tuned out. Apathy has set in after they came to the realization this is a really just unenjoyable team to watch. They don't steal bases, right? What happened to stealing bases, right? They don't run at all. I enjoy watching a stolen base. So I get that. I get some of the other things with, heck, even the 2 hard hits that Louis Varland gave up yesterday. Were those pitches called from the dugout, right? And a lot of pitches are called from the dugout, but I just remember those 2 pitches to right-handed batters, those change-ups. Was that Louis making that decision, or was that somebody else making that decision? So you wonder about stuff like that. So I get it. I get the frustration. I really do. Louis Varland, though, how much fun, right? The minor league pitch clock is a thing, right? He's used to working fast, so he works fast. He throws strikes, and he's got a legit fastball. When's the last time we remember a Twin starting pitcher with a fastball like that? So that was a joy to watch. To me, he was the 29th man, but now that he's on the 40-man, you better call him back up for a start next week. Then you wonder about who starts Sunday, right? I hope it's Bailey Ober. The report from Bailey Ober earlier this week in Fort Myers was pretty good. 4 innings pitched, but just how his pitches looked, the velocity. Paul Molitor among Twins brass down in Fort Myers right now, so there weren't enough eyeballs on Bailey Ober. So, to me, the initial plan was Ober would go Fort Myers to AAA St. Paul. I would bypass AAA St. Paul at this point. To me, Bailey Ober should start for the Twins Sunday at Target Field against Cleveland.
Dukes, there's still about 3 weeks left of the AAA season for the St. Paul Saints, but guys like Matt Wallner, I know Simeon Woods-Richardson's on the mound, I believe, tonight for the St. Paul Saints. Are they just going to wait for that season to end before reinforcements come for the last series of the year? Do you see any situation where guys like Wallner or Woods-Richardson actually get called up in the next few weeks? What's your sense on that?
Well, more so Wallner than Woods-Richardson, but Wallner's knocking on the door. And, I tell you right now, Declan, at 24 years old, he's ready to help a big league team this second. Now, maybe the Twins don't feel like it's them, but, he's good enough to face major league pitching right this second. He can play right field. He can play left field. He could DH. I would not be opposed to Matt Wallner being in the Twins lineup over, especially against a righty, like over Kyle Garlick, right? Like last night, Yankee Stadium, instead of Kyle Garlick facing Garrett Cole, I would have been okay if it was Matt Wallner. Maybe a tough spot. I'm not talking Major League debut, but you get the idea. I'd be okay with Wallner against some of these right-handed pitchers, but I don't get the sense that like something is imminent on that front. The guy to watch with the AAA St. Paul team, well, two guys. Michael Feliz, who's pitched in the majors before, he's on a run of 10 1/3 straight innings of not giving up a hit. I'm not talking not giving up a run, not giving up a hit. So what about Michael Feliz in the Twins bullpen in the near future? That is something to keep an eye on. And then Josh Winder, he threw 4 innings on Sunday. He'll pitch again in this series in Toledo. Like, Josh Winder is pretty much ready, right? So there's some easy moves to make. DFA Aaron Sanchez, DFA Emilio Pagan. Like, those are two obvious moves. Get at least one, if not two of those guys in St. Paul to the Twins roster in the near future. That would be what I would keep an eye on.
Pagan has pictures of somebody, if not multiple people, because they will not. It's unbelievable. He's untouchable. This is one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen from a guy who is just been, for the most part, awful. It's the damnedest thing. And by the way, this team would DFA its own mother. Like, that's the thing too.
That's what's weird. Like,
Falvey
they cut
would
the cord.
DFA mom and dad if he had to. I
know.
don't understand. This is like one of the great mysteries. It's like a damn novel. Emilio Pagan, what does he know, and when did he find out, and how can we get that roster spot back?
It was right on cue last night. Second pitch of his outing.
Yeah.
Double. Right? I forget what Yankee. It doesn't matter, but laced the ball to left field, hits the fence. Double. Second pitch for Emilio Pagan. Now, I've said it for a while. As stand-up a guy as you'll meet. Like, when he stinks, he still sits there and he answers every question.
But he says he's
super
pitching well.
intelligent. I get it. Judd, they DFA'd. It took too long, but Blake Parker, they DFA'd, but it took too long. Alexander Coleman. Like, I don't get this one. I've had some people suggest to me that they feel like they think that they can trade him in the winter. What? Like, huh? Because if you tender him, he's on the hook for, darn near $4 million, or the team acquiring him would then be on the hook for tendering him at $4 million. Like, that doesn't compute to me. Like, Emilio Pagan, like, you might be okay paying him on a flyer deal next year at like 1 or 1.25 or 1.5, maybe build in some incentives, but $4 million or 3.5 to $4 million? What? Huh? That makes sense to me. So, yeah, I mean, they eventually need to make that move. Like, maybe they just need to see Winder a little bit more. I don't know what else they need to see from Michael Feliz. Michael Feliz should be in the Twins bullpen right now. Plus, you could always make a move on Austin Davis as well. He's continuing to struggle to find the strike zone. That was the issue in Boston. Now, he was good in the postseason last year. Like, there's a track record there with this new reliever Davis in the Twins bullpen. But I'm just saying, if you wanted to make a move on him as well, you could. So the point is, there are roster spots to be had in that bullpen. So keep an eye on Ober, keep an eye on Winder, keep an eye on Michael Feliz. Unfortunately, no on my guy Randy Dobnak. He struggled even again last night. Not like overly struggled, but struggled enough again last night. I just don't think Dobnak is an option the rest of this year.
Thank you, sir. Great stuff.
Okay, boys. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
By the way, that scoop session powered by our friends at the Meadows at Mystic Lake. You might be thinking, oh, summer's over, right? Labor Day happens, and I guess you put away the clubs, you put away everything. Not at all. I love me some fall golf. I even got out for 9 yesterday, okay? You can still enjoy some golf. You can do that at the Meadows at Mystic Lake. It's an award-winning 18-hole public golf course. Great options of the food and beer options on the patio or inside at the Meadows Bar and Grill. A great golf service shop as well. Go check them out. Book your tee time now. Enjoy some fall golf. golfthemeadows.com to learn more. Mackey joins on the back end here, Judd, to talk more Twins with us, a little more therapy session, and some old tweets exposed that I found from us talking about the Twins too. So we'll do that on the back end of this episode of Mackey and Judd.